Why, hello there, Sir Richard Cackington III here. Thank you so much for stopping by, and today we are going to be discussing something that was a part of yesterday's Stasis subclass unveiling that will, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, change Destiny 2 forever. This is such a big deal, and so let's get started. But just before we do, I know you guys watching are real gamers, so I've teamed up with two other real gamers, MTashed and True Vanguard, and we're doing a podcast, and the first episode is tonight, Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/RGH podcast. Gonna be so much fun. We get along so well. We're just talking about all the crazy stuff in gaming that happens every week. Guys, definitely check it out, and I really do think it's going to be a lot of fun. Alright, now let's jump into the topic. So, of course, yesterday's reveal was of the Shadebinder subclass, the new Stasis subclass for the Warlock. But in today's video, we're not necessarily going to focus on that in terms of the new abilities and so on. I've already done a video covering that. Check it out. It's linked up above. But rather, we're going to be focusing on how subclasses themselves are evolving, are changing with Destiny 2 Beyond Light, because this is the brand new subclass layout. And obviously, it is completely different than what we have in-game right now, because currently we just have nodes of 4 perks referred to as attunements or codes or ways, depending on what class you're playing, and you just pick a singleton node. And I think that's what most people, including myself, admittedly, expected with this new subclass. Like, okay, it's just going to be a fourth choice, essentially. Instead of clicking, the red solar subclass, you click the very blue or purple, stasis subclass, and then you just have 2 attunements, right? But that's just such a far cry from what has actually happened. And this new layout really opens Pandora's box, so to speak, when it comes to customization, when it comes to gameplay possibilities, because it allows for so much more player choice and player input. So, first off, we do have some UI changes that are not necessarily changing the entire way the subclass works. So if we actually look under abilities here, you'll notice that there's little ticks, little gray squares under some of them. This is where you're going to hover over with your cruiser and pick one, right? Like, as you hover over, different choices will pop up because, abilities, we have the Rift, obviously. The other tick represents the choice between either a healing Rift or an empowered Rift. We have 2 ticks under the jump, so the 3 different jump choices, of course, and then the final square is your grenade. We have 3 choices there as well. So that's just UI change, and it does admittedly look better. But then we have brand new additions. We have aspects and we have fragments. And these are essentially replacing attunements and replacing the perks that came with attunements. Because the only things you're guaranteed are those abilities. The Rift, Jump, the Melee, and the Grenade. There's no other things you get. You essentially have to add your own perks. You have to create your own attunement. So firstly, we do have those aspects. And these are the closest things to actual perks that you would find within an attunement. So right here we have Frost Pulse, and this is a stasis aspect, and it says, casting your Rift generates a shockwave that freezes nearby combatants. So it gives you a degree of offense and defense, honestly, when you're using your Rift. And if you have, a class that's specialized in recovery for the Warlock or certain exotics that involve casting your class ability quite a bit, this is something you'd really want. But then we also have Fragments, and these are basically armor mods but for your actual subclass. And here's an example, Whisper of Bonds. So defeating frozen targets with weapons grants you super energy, but it does give you -10 intellect and -10 discipline. So if you're using a subclass or abilities that freeze enemies all the time, it works really well with that aspect we just saw actually, then you'll probably make up for that -10 intellect because you'll be getting your super much more often if every target you kill is frozen. But interestingly, the aspects themselves have fragment slots. So Bungie basically made perks that can have mods, which is, a little complicated when we talk about it that way. But really importantly, with this entire system, firstly, they're physical objects. And I think people are overlooking just how big of a deal this is. So you actually need to go out in the world and kill a certain enemy, complete a certain activity. Obviously, it's not quite known just yet how to get these, but you have to do something, and then the Frost Pulse aspect will drop, and you pick it up, and then it's a part of your choices when it comes to your subclass. So why is that important? Why is being a physical object important? Well, firstly, it gives you a lot more to do. You don't just unlock the entire attunement and you're good to go. You actually need to go out and play the game and do certain activities. Obviously, that's a good thing, but mainly it's because Bungie can add more. Right? When you have these attunements beforehand, like Bungie really couldn't just add new perks, because then they would have to add perks to like everything, right? With aspects and fragments, if we have a different season down the line, let's say the summer season for this year, Bungie could legit just add like 3 new aspects for the 3 different classes. Like, how crazy would that be? Essentially adding a new perk that the subclasses can equip and customize and throw into builds and stuff. That would increase customization to a magnitude we really haven't seen when it comes to subclasses. And again, being a physical object makes that possible. But it's not just aspects. Fragments can get that same exact treatment. Bungie can add new fragments every single season if they want to, and every time new ones are added, that would create new and bolster existing build possibilities. I mean, that exact thing is happening within Destiny 2 right now when it comes to seasonal mods. Every time there's a new season, we get a bunch of new mods, all these new builds emerge. Essentially, we're gonna have that, but for subclasses themselves. And presumably we wouldn't have to worry about seasons rotating out and getting the right armor that can equip the right seasonal mods, because it appears that, fragments and aspects are just universal. But the other huge advantage is just how much more customization this system brings, because with the current system, we have 3 attunements essentially, times 3 grenades, times 3 jumps, times 2 different class abilities, and that gives 54 total different possibilities for picking your subclass, total layouts essentially. But with the new system, we have, as you can see from this screenshot, 2 different class abilities, times 3 different jumps, 1 melee, 3 different grenades. Then we have a number of different aspects. Let's say if there's just 4 aspects in total in the game, then for each of those aspects, we have 5 different fragments that we can see right here on screen. And again, there's probably more, but that gives over 360 different layout possibilities, different player choices when it comes to this new subclass. So 54 different possibilities versus 360 plus, and it's likely way more. Like if we just change those attunements from 4 to 5, it jumps up to 450. So there is just so many different choices and so many different builds that are going to emerge from this system, because you can see like the fragments, if you look up at the aspects, that one aspect has 2 different nodes essentially, so 2 different fragment slots, and there must be another aspect kind of hidden behind the Whisper of Bonds that we're seeing here that has another 2, so you can see the 4 fragments total. So the fact that you can choose from all these different aspects, and then those aspects themselves can be modded out with multiple different fragments, I mean, it's just incredible. And the really incredible thing is that I don't think it's going to stop here. While I don't necessarily think that with Beyond Light, the existing subclasses will be changed, I think that eventually those existing subclasses, so for the Warlock we have Stormcaller, we have Dawnblade, etc., they're going to get this treatment down the line, and we're going to have a game that's truly an RPG that gives you a true degree of customization when it comes to your subclass that we just haven't seen for years, and I am so excited. Guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. found this interesting. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content so much this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.